makes a people, or, to be more correct, a race is not language but blood. Therefore, it would be justifiable to speak of English only if that process could change the blood of the people who would be subjected to it, which is obviously impossible. A change would be possible only by a mixture of blood. But in this case, the quality of the superior race would be debased. The final result of such a mixture would be that precisely those qualities would be destroyed which had enabled the conquering race to achieve victory over an inferior people. It is especially the cultural creativeness which disappears when a superior race intermixes with an inferior one, even though the results of the mongrel race should excel 1,000-fold in speaking the language of the race that once had been superior. For a certain time, there will be a conflict between the different mentalities, and it may be that a nation which is in a state of progressive degeneration will at the last moment rally its cultural creative power and once again produce striking examples of that power. And these results are due only to the activity of elements that have remained over from the superior race or hybrids of the first crossing, in whom the superior blood has remained dominant and seeks to assert itself. But this will never happen with the final descendants of hybrids. These are always the same. Change would be possible only by a mixture of blood. In this case, the quality of the superior race would be debased. The final result of such a mixture would be that precisely those qualities would be destroyed which had enabled the conquering race to achieve victory over an inferior people. It is especially the cultural creativeness which disappears when a superior race intermixes with an inferior one, even though the resultant mongrel race should excel 1,000-fold in speaking the language of the race that once had been superior. For a certain time, there will be a conflict between the different mentalities, and it may be that a nation which is in a state of progressive degeneration will at the last moment rally its cultural creative power and once again produce striking the language of the race that once had been superior. For a certain time, there will be a conflict between the different mentalities, and it may be that a nation which is in a state of progressive degeneration will at the last moment rally its cultural creative power once again produce striking examples of that power. Produce striking examples of that. But these results are due only to the activity of elements that have us from the superior race, or hybrids of the first ending on the surpassing, in whom the superior blood has remained dominant. Of the first crossing, in whom the superior blood has remained dominant and seeks to assert itself. But this will never happen with the final descendants of such hybrids.
The current political illusion throughout the world is that the state possesses a creative force which can build up civilizations, has nothing in common with the concept of race as the foundation of the state. The state is considered rather as something which has resulted from economic necessity, or at best, the natural outcome of the play of political forces and impulses. Such a conception of the foundations of the state, together with all its logical consequences, not only ignores the primordial racial forces that underlie the state, but it also leads to a policy in which the importance of the individual is minimized. If it be denied that races differ from one another in their powers of cultural creativeness, then the same erroneous notion must necessarily influence our estimation of the value of the individual. The assumption that all races are alike leads to the assumption that nations and individuals are equal to one another, and international Marxism is known as nothing but the implication affected by the Jew, Karl Marx, and general from a general conception of life to a definite profession of political faith. But in reality, that general concept did long before the time of Karl Marx, if it had not already existed as a widely diffused, inevitable progress, if it had not already been possible. In reality, what distinguished Karl Marx from the millions who were affected in the end? Karl Marx with a general conception of the opposition. She used to affect the notion of the element that purpose as the essential point, but in belief she could again